going to be doing Slave and Citizen. It's by Frank Tannenbaum, 1947. This is a book that is about migration and slavery, which are the two subjects I'm studying the first semester of my second year in the graduate course. I'm obviously slavery, mass incarceration is my primary area of study, but migration is basically what slavery was. Remember, it was rooted in forced migration. And also, to understand migration as a whole helps you understand the slave trade better. So a lot of things come out of studying migration that relate to the systematic denial of wealth, which is slavery. A perfect example, before 1800, most of the migrants in North America were African. After the abolition, quote unquote, of slavery in 1865, 1863, Emancipation Proclamation, there was a choice to give access to wealth to European immigrants as opposed to the newly freed and available workforce, the members of the African diaspora who had actually built the country, who had the skills, who were the artisans and the craftsmen and the blacksmiths and all of that, that to purposely not invest in those people and invest in the Europeans coming over. So understanding migration and the timing of migration, very, very important. Also understanding that the forced migration of slavery funded the Industrial Revolution. I had never really thought of that. But it is said that during the slave trade, 500,000 to 750,000 slaves were actually transported. I believe the number is much higher than that. That's what they have documentation for, but also we also are told there's also a big argument in the number of Native Americans killed in the taking of North America and Mexicans killed in the taking of North America. So I don't like when the field of history nails down these hard and fast numbers, because they only know how many people made it. They don't know how many people were thrown overboard. And we're talking over 200 years. People were killed, thrown overboard to go faster during the part of the, during the slave trade, the actual transportation. So they have no idea how many slave ships illegally kept coming. They had said as late as 1830. And the African slave trade started in 1450, and I'm going to have to look up when the slave trade ended. That's something I should have off the top of my head. 1807. And they have documentation as recent as 1830, or as late as 1830, that ships still were coming. So we don't know how many ships had come after that. So we don't have any idea what that number is. But it's a lot of good information to study migration as well as mass incarceration, because the two are so closely connected. Frank Tannenbaum, his what he gave to, one of the things that he gave to academia was something that he called the dramatization of evil. And it was a sweeping, three-pronged approach that ultimately came to the conclusion that a person's evil act could not or should not be separated from the person, which made the evil act the core of the person's being, hence made them an evil person. So that, and you say, well, why is that important? In our criminal justice system, the guilty till proven innocent theory derives from that. So it's very, very important. So there are a lot of things to learn in the Tannenbaum work. Now, in this particular work, which is Slave and Citizen, he's trying to point out the difference in slavery in South America and North America. South America, Latin, Catholic. North America, Protestant, Anglo. And he's saying due to the Justinian law, which is the root of Romanian law, Roman law, which obviously passed through the Catholic Church, required that everyone be recognized as a soul, a human, a entity of God, no matter what their station, even a slave. And his argument is that because of this influence in South America of Catholicism, that it was a much more humane slavery, that people could earn their freedom, and that abolition was so much easier in South America because of that. The argument falls loose fairly quickly. Number one, it wasn't an easy transition of slavery in all of South America. Number two, if you're saying that dehumanizing someone is against your code or against your policy, as did the Catholic Church, saying I didn't dehumanize you as bad as someone else is still dehumanizing. And who is any group to enslave another? So you're measuring degrees of bad as opposed to right and wrong. There was a lot of talk of the census, and in a lot of these research you'll find census. When you're doing historical research, especially when it's dealing with mass incarceration, pay attention to the census reports. I know it's real easy to jump over the numbers, but the census was kept to stop slave revolts. Haiti is still the major example of what happens when a population gets outnumbered. Haiti was like 90% African when they revolted, and that's why they won. So they generally tried to keep it at a manageable rate in case a revolution came that they could squash it. So that was something that was that came out in this reading. So pay attention to your census information. So he's basically trying to figure out what the etiology is, the cause of disease that made this difference between North America, where it had to be this bloody fight to stop slavery, which it didn't, and in South America as to where slavery was abolished. But see, the thing is, slavery is economic, and that never was abolished. The people in North America, where slavery was much worse and much harder to change, have a better economic outlook than people of color in South America to this day. So they may have stopped the system, but they changed the system because the system still works in favor of the financially empowered. The biggest point that one of the big points that came out there, at the point of emancipation, less than 1% of blacks were free in North America. I believe 90% of the blacks were free at the point of abolition. that was a reason as to why the South American abolition was able to just kind of push through. It wasn't that many people that were truly, completely indebted or in complete servitude when it was abolished. It had played itself out by its nature. North America, 99% of the people were still in indentured servitude or complete slavery, considered property. So the book is a bit dated, but it is excellent to understand, A, that you cannot study North American slavery without studying Cuba, Brazil, Colombia, the Caribbean, Lima, Ecuador, understanding the economy associated with tobacco, cotton, coffee, sugar, the location of the movement of the slave trade in the Caribbean up to North America. So again, the name of the book is Slave and Citizen, 1947, Frank Tannenbaum. It's not necessarily a fiery book. It's a bit outdated, but for the scholar, it's a must-read to build upon, and it works really good with some of the other reviews that we're going to be doing later this semester. And be looking for the rest of the videos.